Welcome back to RBD Block Challenge. I'm Cindy Cloward, and today we are working on block number 16. It's called Town Square, and it's designed by Tara Reed. This is the last designer block in this sew along. We have one more block in the center of the quilt as well as finishing. So we have one more video, but this is the last designer block. So congratulations if you've been following along and sewing along with us. It's been a great series. So let's take a look at what it looks like in our confetti cottons, and this is what it looks like in our batiks. Both beautiful, right? So as always, you're going to download the pattern on the Riley Blake Designs website. It's called Town Square, and it's a beautiful block that you're going to enjoy making. So to get started, it tells you to mark corner to corner all of your squares. I'm not going to mark my G squares because I'm going to use my Seam Sew Easy Guide, but I am going to mark my B squares. And the B squares, this is the first unit we're working on. It's called a square and a square, or an economy block. And so I'm going to mark these corner to corner, and I'm going to tell you why. So first, let's mark them. And this is going to be your stitch line. And I'm marking them because it's a little bit bigger for the Seam Sew Easy Guide. I'll put on my glasses. But I also, when I'm creating an economy block like this, square and a square, that I like to sew slightly a skosh to the outside, a thread or to the outside, so it makes a really accurate square. Okay, so those are marked. We're going to grab our E square, this big red square. And when you're working on these, we've talked about this before, you work on opposite sides. I'm going to sew on this side just a little bit to the outside of that marked line, and the same on that side. I'm going to just give it a quick press for a temporary heat adhesive. Just kind of line that up. Okay, let's take it to our machine. And again, I'm going to line up my needle just a little bit to the outside. All right, let's take it back here. And this is what I want to see. When I open that up, it finishes that square. And sometimes if you sew right on the line, it can be slightly short just because of the fold. So I'm going to take my 1/4 inch plus ruler and trim down from that seam. And we're going to take it to our pressing station and open it up. I just put that nose right along there. Give it a good press. Okay, and that looks great. So we're going to take our other 2 squares. And we've done this before. We just take our time and enjoy making this block, don't we? Just kind of line it up. I'm going to give it a quick press. Let's take a look. That's just what we want to see. We want to see a 1/4 inch from the tip to the outside edge. That's looking great. So now it's time to just trim down. Let's press it. There's your square and a square, your economy block, it's also called. I'm just gonna make sure it's the right size. Now it should, because you started with a 6-inch square of the red, but when you sew two sides on, just make sure it's still 6 inches. And it looks great. So that is good to go. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add these corners right here. So we're going to grab our G squares. And again, if you're more comfortable marking them corner to corner and then just sewing ever so slightly on the outside, go ahead and do that. Since they're so small, I'm going to grab 4 of them, and I'm going to use my Seam Sew Easy guide on this. I'll just take it over to my machine. And again, since they're small units, I am not gonna press them ahead of time. I think they're good to go. And I'm just gonna sew. I'm gonna work around in a circle and just sew each of these squares on the corner of this unit. All right, all 4 sides are good to go, and let's just trim down. And sometimes it's nice to just get out this rotating mat. Let's take it to the pressing station. All right, let's give these sides a good press. Then we're going to open it up. I think I'm going to give it a little spritz because sometimes these are hard to get pressed a certain direction. So we'll take a minute to press that side. Give it a little spritz. Soften those seams. When you press it close, it kind of warms up the fabric, softens those seams. So hopefully it presses a little easier when you flip them back. This is kind of the flip and turn method. I'm going to give it a press, and I haven't used this on film very much, but this is a big enough block. This is our large quilt block clapper. Isn't that nice? I call it the mother of all clappers. It's a huge clapper, and I use it on big blocks. And I haven't been using it this season, but I'm going to use it more because I started using it recently. We recently came out with these, and it's really nice to have a super large clapper. And look at that. It just absorbs the heat and moisture and makes your block super flat, and that's what we want. So that's what the large clapper is used for. So this is ready to go. We can put it to the side, and we'll use it a little bit later. The next thing we're gonna do is take our C squares and the rest of our G squares, and we're gonna make this small unit. Just flip and turn method. We're gonna sew it on one corner. You can just sew slightly to the outside of your marked square. I'm just gonna use my Seam Sew Easy guide and just sew just ever so slightly to the outside of that square. All right, we've chain pieced these together. We'll just clip the threads real fast in between. I'll just flip it open, looks good. Let's trim down to 1/4 inch. pressing station. And those look great. So those are done, ready to go. Now we're gonna take our A square and our D square. Well, first we're gonna mark this corner to corner. I need a slightly longer ruler, and I don't need this. So we'll stick that under there. And we're gonna mark this corner to corner. We're going to make 8 at a time half square triangles. So this is not our sew line. We've done this before. We like this method. This is our guide, and we're gonna sew 1/4 inch on each side. So I am going to take it to my pressing station, just give it a quick press. That's why it's so nice to have your pressing station right next to your sewing machine. And that temporary heated adhesive is so nice for this method. All right, we're gonna sew 1/4 inch from that marked line. All right, we've got all our stitch lines on, and the pattern tells you to cut this on this stitch line, on this stitch line. But since I got a comment from someone that said, try it a different way, I'm gonna try a different way today. And you can make in the comment what works best for you, but you can follow the pattern instructions, but let's try something different today. I'm going to cut in the very center. So I'm gonna line this up of this line. So there is a center marked line, and I'm gonna line it up just like this. And we're going to cut down the center opposite, or kind of in the middle of our other lines. Now I'm gonna take it here, and I'm going to line it up there. We're gonna see how that works. We're gonna see if we like it, doing it this way. Okay, so now we've got these 4 squares, and we've got this marked line right here. So I'm gonna take out, and now we're just gonna cut the 2 half square triangles apart on the marked line. Like that. I kind of like that method. I kind of like that switch up. So I can't remember the name of the person who made that comment, but thank you very much. I might switch how I do half square triangles to this new way. And then last one. Now, I haven't started doing that, but you can use your 1/4 inch plus ruler to cut off your dog ears now. So you can do it now or later. Sometimes I just like to do it when I'm already in the cutting zone. Just kind of line that up there, and then on your seam, and get rid of those dog ears all at once. Again, you can do it after you open up your half square triangles, but whatever you like to do. I'm kind of in the cutting zone, so I'm going to do it now. All right, let's take it to our pressing station. All right, let's give them a little heat. Get them ready to flip open. We're just going to keep using that large clapper today. I'm pressing to the dark side, the red side. And let's bring them over here. Now we need to make sure they are 2 3/4 inches. So since that's a little bit of an unusual size, let me clean up my workstation right here. We're gonna get this ruler that can be used for dual purposes, and we're gonna measure 2 3/4. What you need to make sure is the corner is on the seam at the top and it runs down through this diagonal line. So I'm gonna need to trim this side because this side is a little wonky. So be really careful when these half square triangles, sometimes they get a little wonky when you're pressing. Okay, here we go. So I just have just a tiny bit to trim off, hardly anything on that one. The trim is going to be very small on this, but it's worth doing it, even if it's just taking a little off the top and a little off the side. This is an important step that you don't want to miss. There we go. Okay, those are all finished. Put this down there. Bring up our workstation. And we're ready to start assembling this unit right here. We need to make 4 of those. So I'm going to get this out. This is helpful. Have a smaller board, and we can just line them up. So let's grab our F rectangle that goes in the middle. We kind of line it up like that. Just going to line all 4. Here we go. This will go like that. Mirror opposites. And we're just going to chain piece these together. So take it to your machine, and I'm just going to flip the center section over like that. We'll just chain piece all of these little units. Okay, let's clip our threads in between, and then we're going to go press these. Warm them up. And I'm just going to press them to the pink side. I'm going to grab the smaller clapper for this. Those are ready to go. I'll just put those out. Let's just sew the other half square triangle on the other side. And again, we're just going to chain piece, line those up. We'll clip these in between. Let's go press. We're just going to press towards the pink. And now we'll use the large clapper for that. All right, we'll just let those cool for just a second. I'm kind of kicking myself. I haven't been using this the entire series, but we are using it today, and I really do love the results it gives. Okay, we have these units. Let's start laying out our block. We can put these in the corner. Like that. We'll lay these out, making sure they're going the right way. Okay, looks good. And we're gonna just sew down the side so we can flip that over here. But we have to be mindful of these points and lining it up to the center of this rectangle. So we're gonna flip that over like that. Make a little crease in the center there. And then we're gonna flip it over here and kind of just line it up like that and put a pin in it. So hold still, it doesn't shift. You can be generous with your pins. They should line up on that side. If they don't, give it a little tug. You can always put a pin on the outside. Okay. Again, I'm being very generous with the pins, which is A-okay. Then we'll flip this over there. Let's take it to the machine and sew down the side. Just gonna chain piece together. Okay, let's open it up. It's looking good. We're gonna flip this side over here and then turn our design board. And I am going to put a pin at the top because we're gonna take this all over to our machine as a unit. It gets a little bulky. So I'll put a pin up there. And we are gonna line this up as well. So let's make our mark. A little crease in that center. Again, we just kind of flip it back, a little peekaboo here. Line it up to that center there. And as I'm sewing down the side, I take a scant 1/4 inch because you don't want to cut off your points as you're sewing down the side. All right, let's lay it out like this. Looking good. This is exactly what we want to see. That point is just resting right there and centered on that right there. Okay. Now we have 2 more seams to nest. So I'm going to flip that this direction and we'll just nest those seams. Okay, those are nested. Now we've got, just make that center mark, line that up. Okay, we're ready to sew our 2 final seams. Again, just take a scant 1/4 inch. let's take this to our pressing station. Give it a good press. Kind of press both sides like that. Now let's open up. Let's take a look. This is what we want to see. We want to see these points coming together like there. We want to see that centered on all four sides. And it's looking really good. This takes a little bit of time to get everything pressed out. Again, take this giant clapper, the jumbo clapper. Okay, let's bring it back here. We're gonna square this up. Make sure it's the right size. Should be 10.5 inches. Okay, it's looking good. Let me just flip it over this side. I think I just have a tiny, tiny bit to trim. It's so slight, but that's all we need to trim, and it's good to go. And our town square quilt block is finished. I really enjoyed making this block designed by Tara Reid. It'll be fun to see what Tara Reid does with her own block. But we only have one more video. It is the center block and finishing. So congratulations if you're caught up to block number 16. And I just wanted to mention, we read all your comments that you write on our videos, and we try to improve our videos that we bring to you week by week. So join me next time for the center block and finishing, and congratulations on this RBD block challenge.